So after suffering through all 5 Twilight movies, I started wondering about recent young adult novel series adaptations, but not the ones that are finished like Harry Potter or the one and done stuff like Ender's Game. I don't think that's getting a sequel. The big young adult novel series to film adaptations all have this common link: post-apocalyptic wasteland in which teenagers need to save the world. Here's what this reminds me of, and some of you may be too young to realize this because you're not all well into your 30s like myself. In the 90s, Nickelodeon and its contemporaries tried to push "Kids Rule" as the big slogan. We're kids! We don't need adults! But also this weird, rebellious social change perpetuated by children. Wednesday Addams being the voice of reason against the adults in Addams Family Values. Roughly every show on Snick. It's empowering, but it's also juvenile, and most importantly, completely manufactured by adults themselves. Kids don't come up with these shows about kids ruling. They're just being manipulated and marketed to by adults. And that's fine. Whatever. It was fun at the time, but when you grow up, you realize how hollow and how manipulative it is. Well, that's young adult dystopia movies. Juvenile power fantasies for children about the evil adults, but written by adults. Occasionally, the kids will run into an adult they trust, like a Hey Mitch, but such adults are usually outside of maturity. Hey Mitch can be trusted because he's as immature as the kids. Teenagers need to save the world for a variety of reasons, depending on which YA dystopia movie series you're watching, and adults just don't understand, man. That's not to say these movies can't be good. They absolutely can. It's just that watching them as a middle-aged man and well outside the demographic, and someone who grew up in the Nickelodeon Kids Rule atmosphere of the 80s and 90s, it's like seeing the gears turn in the clock. I know how this works. So let's talk about the big ones. Divergent. I would rather watch any Twilight movie again than watch Divergent again. I would rather watch 2 Twilight movies in a row than watch Divergent again. It's a story of Triss, because of course she has a stupid name, and she lives in the distant future long after a war ravaged the world, and there's this super efficient government that is secretly bad and makes teenagers go through this inhuman test to see what they will be forever, like what their job will be. So, you know, YA dystopia. See, everyone in the future society, due to some magical sci-fi bullcrap, is really only capable of being kind, or smart, or brave, or a few other personality traits, but just one. Just one. But Triss is special, because obviously she is. She's divergent. She's the special. That means she has the ability to be more than one thing, and the future Kate Winslet society says that's bad. Dumb Academy Award-winning actress telling me what to put on my cornflakes. Triss will take none of that because she's the special, and she somehow leads the rebellion even though she's not old enough to rent a car. She has a tedious relationship with a man called Four. His name is Four. They fall in love because he's mean to her, and that means she loves him. The whole thing is atrocious, not to mention long. I would never have even considered watching this as entertainment, but I wanted to tell you how it was. So, you're welcome. Okay, next is The Maze Runner. This is The Hunger Game, but with boys. Again, I never would have even tried to watch this if not for this video. In the future, the world is a wasteland, and young boys are taken to this field somewhere and live peacefully amongst themselves. It's like the opposite of the Lord of the Flies. Everything is cool among them. It's the monsters, called the Grievers, that give them trouble, but only if they go past a wall and into a maze. Okay, just to deviate here for just a moment. Stories usually need a relatable character. Someone who, whether you realize you're doing it or not, you relate to him or her and project yourself onto them. Their struggle becomes your struggle. Some stories are criticized, rightfully so, for creating characters that are blank slates. Characters like Bella from Twilight. Characters who have few, if any, personality traits so that you could be that character. It could just as easily be you that the author is talking about. The Maze Runner quite literally has a blank slate character because our protagonist, when we meet him, has amnesia. He is the manifestation of the blank slate concept. He gets his memories later on, but still. It turns out that the young boys are being used by a mega corporation to test their brains because their minds may be the key to possibly saving the world one day. So the corporation needs to put them under stress to make their cure thing work. So monsters and mazes and living alone and only one girl. It's the kind of mad scientist plan that Dr. Forrester would find sensible. Like, the more needlessly elaborate, the better. Those major criticisms aside, this is still leaps and bounds ahead of Divergent. Significantly better and more watchable. Some of the moments are tense enough. I'm still not going to watch the sequel, though. Okay, that brings us to the grandmommy of them all, The Hunger Games. I feel like people, even if you've never seen them, know the premise of these movies, so I won't get into all that. Instead, I had a thought. The first one was flawed, mostly in visuals. I didn't much care for it. The second one was solid action film. The third one sucked. It was like half a movie. It was literally half a movie. The fourth one, at the time of this recording, it's coming to theaters in a few days. So, even if the fourth one is good, like really good, like better than all the others, we're still going to look back at the Hunger Games movies one day and say, half of them kind of sucked. If the fourth one is anything like the third one, we're going to look back at them as mostly forgettable, except the second one. I understand the monetary reasons of splitting Mockingjay into two parts, but it is wildly unnecessary. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows was split into two movies, but that almost made sense considering that book is over 700 pages long. I looked this up. Mockingjay is 390 pages long. Doesn't need to be two movies. That's a one-movie book. I realize I'm not the target demographic for these films. I recognize that. You don't have to tell me. But movies should be good enough to be enjoyed by people outside of a narrow field of vision. Disney and Pixar movies, for example, have children in mind, but they're still great. Anyway, take it or leave it. That's my opinion. And I am not watching Insurgent.